Signed, sealed, and for the 47 Republican senators who wrote Iran's regime, concerns they got the wrong message delivered? Hard to say. This much is not one of the guys who signed it seems to be having some doubts, not about the contents of that letter, but to whom it was addressed. Wisconsin Republican Ron Johnson reportedly telling Bloomberg reporters and editors at a breakfast this morning that it might have been easier if Republicans hadn't sent it to Iran's leaders. I'm paraphrasing here, but that he stands by the message that Congress must and will have a role in any deal, quoting here, that rises to a level of a treaty. To New Hampshire Republican Senator Kelly Ayotte, who also signed that letter, on what she makes of what her colleague is saying. Senator, good to have you. What do you think of what Senator Johnson is saying?
I think what you hear Senator Johnson saying, and I have a lot of respect for him, is that the letter and what was in it was very important. Let me put this into perspective, Neil. This letter was written on the heels of the President of the United States threatening to veto bipartisan legislation, the Corker-Menendez bill, which I'm an original sponsor of, that says very simply, we want to say on this incredibly important agreement. And you have to bear in mind, it was Congress on an overwhelming bipartisan basis that put the toughest financial and energy sectors on Iran to bring them to the table. And this is an incredibly important issue for the American people that we should have a say in, given the security of our country. It's the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world.
I certainly see where you're coming from, Senator, but do you think you, with the right intentions at least, played into some of the nuts hands over there? You know what I mean?
Neil, look at what they've done since we've been negotiating this deal. They've helped overthrow the government in Yemen. They're supporting the murderous Assad regime. They're supporting groups like Hezbollah that terrorize Israel. And they're the largest state sponsor of terrorism. They really haven't diminished any of what they're doing. They're developing an ICBM. So I guess my question is, who are these so-called moderates that people are talking about? We need to understand who we're dealing with. And let's think about the letter. You know, it's interesting to be criticized about a letter that quotes the United States Constitution. You know, I think that in some ways there's been a lot made about this letter to try to distract from the underlying issue, which the administration does not want Congress to have a say on something so important when it comes to the security of the United States of America. And that strikes me as not right within our system, and certainly not what I would hope my constituents would want us to have a say on it, given that if there is a weak agreement, this is something that has grave implications, and they're allowed to get a nuclear bomb.
You know, Senator, Mitt Romney in a USA Today interview had said that he thinks that the president will cobble together some sort of a deal with Iran. I'm paraphrasing here, but that'll be a bad deal. But that he'll get good play from it, and it will help Hillary Clinton, assuming she's the nominee, because I guess by extension he's saying the mainstream media would just play it as a big victory for the administration. What do you think of that?
What I think is that a good deal's a blessing, a bad deal's a nightmare, and what we've heard about the deal, let's think about it. They're going to be allowed a breakout period of a year. They're allowed to keep their basically the centrifuges, thousands of them. They're don't seem, from what I've heard publicly about the deal, that they're going to have to dismantle their nuclear program. And what we've heard from the Sunni Arab nations is they're going to want the same, so it's going to result in more proliferation. So if she wants to claim this is an accomplishment, I don't think that will be an accomplishment. Now, if we can have an agreement that dismantles their program, that requires them to give up the enriched uranium, their plutonium reactor, tell us about their weaponization and what they're doing, and also, by the way, give up their terrorism, then that's a real agreement, and it's verifiable, and we can get inspectors in there. But if it's something short of that, I don't know why you would say that that is an accomplishment. And I think if that's where we are, we need to impose the sanctions, tougher economic sanctions, and bring it back to negotiations for a real strong deal. We know that the sanctions are hitting Iran, especially with oil prices where they are today.
All right. You know, Senator, I didn't want to jump on you there, but I caught this exchange with you and General John Kelly over the treatment of some of these detainees and their anger at having female guards watching them. I hope we have this tape. If we could take a peek at this.
Give us a sense of who some of these high-level detainees who brought this action to prevent women guards, who, by the way, we're very proud of, are doing great work.
Well, certainly the 9/11-5.
So the 9/11-5 want to tell us that the women who serve our country can't guard them.
That's exactly right. And then the coal bomber.
And the coal bomber.
The coal bomber. It's beyond me why we even consider some of these requests, but I'm not a lawyer. I'm not smart enough to figure this out.
We're not going to honor these requests, are we?
Here's the problem, Neil. They've already been entertained in 2 court orders. So there's one pending right now, and that the lawyers of the 9/11 attackers, of the 9/11, the 5 that are there, including the mastermind Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and the USS Cole bomber, telling our women in military who are trained to do this that they can't guard them because of the Muslim religion. It's really ridiculous, and General Kelly rightly so pointed out that that's not part of that religion, and that the fact that we're letting terrorists, we're even having to entertain these requests from terrorists about who and who can't guard them is absurd and incredibly, I mean, talk about taking it to the most absurd level of these people who are terrorists. So I don't know why we're entertaining this, but I was so offended by this, and General Kelly, you can tell, is offended by it as well.
Yeah, I got a sense you were both a little offended by it. Senator, thank you very much.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
That's bizarre.
Thanks, Neil.
All right, you be well.
It is bizarre.
Senator Kelly.
Thank you, you too.
All right, now.